Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers lose to the Winnipeg Jets by a score of 2-1. Far from the Rangers' worst performance, but this time of year, with the Rangers being where they are in the standings, getting no points puts them in a really, really tough spot. And so now it's a 4-game losing streak for the Rangers, 0-2 in their last four to be specific. Um, and it's something new every night in a way. I mean, like you look at the Columbus game, and that was just a defensive breakdown completely all the way around, and including some bad goaltending in that one. This was, you only score one goal, a power play goal. So the top six to me in this one stands out as just, not doing nearly enough. And for me, one of the major reasons why the Rangers are where they are this year for players that are in the top six or you'd think would have been in the top six uh, have just really fell flat this season. Um, but look, Winnipeg is for good reason. I mean, one of the best teams in the league. Doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily, have a cup run in them. I'm not so sure about that. Um, but you can tell that defensively they're really, really sound. I mean, the Rangers were unable to get shots through. Connor Hellebuck is obviously a top-notch goaltender, especially in the regular season. Um, so it's not a game necessarily to look back at and be embarrassed about, but it was not good enough. It wasn't. And the other Rangers are 31, 28, and 6. And as we speak right now, and this can change, but it really feels like there's only one spot up for grabs. It's that final wild card spot currently occupied by Columbus. Ottawa is on a streak, and that's the shame there because again that Rangers Senator game was a big one, but it's the combination of that and the Columbus loss. For me, that's what's still bothering me even more than this Winnipeg game. Right, the expectation is Rangers would lose this game, and in fact, kind of went a little bit better than I would have even thought it would. It was those two games for different reasons, but equally as disappointing and frustrating that I think really, if it look, the fact of the matter is this. The Rangers have not been anywhere near good enough this season. And really, if they don't make it, like if the season ended right now, I'd say, hey, they didn't deserve to make it. Really didn't. There is some time left, right? What is it, 17 games remaining?
Welcome to
And the next couple games to me are very, very critical. Obviously, you're at Minnesota is the next game, and then at Columbus. Like this thing can be turned around, right? A couple of wins, specifically against Columbus, a regulation win. You get that going, and that could lead you into something. It's possible, but again, it's the Rangers haven't had a 3-game winning streak since November 19th. I mean, we're coming up on just a little bit shy of 4 months. And I know there was a Four Nations break. I get that. But since they've had a 3-game winning streak, that's not that crazy to do. So as much as the Rangers, once the calendar turned to 2025, kind of turned the page on what was just historically horrible hockey, um, even in the good times, they haven't really gone on a major stretch. The best that they did was in January, right? Like the beginning to middle part. I guess we'll say the middle part of January, where they really were like at least racking up points um, in different ways. But ever since then, it's been mediocre, really, um, and it's a desperate time for this team, and it's hard to be overly optimistic about their playoff chances. Again, still they are very much in it right now, but they're going to have to turn it around quickly, and it's a shame because really if they're able to hold that lead against Washington, even right, then you're looking at your first 3-game winning streak. At that point, you would have beaten, one of the best teams in the league, and who knows what that could have led to. It may end up still being the same results following that, but whenever they've come close to really sort of getting themselves in playoff position, they take some steps back. That's just the way that it's been. So, in relation to tonight's game, um, Igor Shesterkin was good, and again, for me, I'm not saying that it would have been the difference maker, but I really think that he should have been in there against Columbus. I said it before that game, right? So it's not like it was a second guess on my part. I said before it, and I even said I felt like it was a bit of a bold take on my part. And in a way, that was even more true based on the fact that he didn't play. They did go with Quick because it was a back to back. I just think you needed to understand the importance. Mathematically, with the standings, like that was such a big game, and they may have still lost handily, but it was frustrating in a way to see Shesterkin do what he did in this game. He was really good, and he has not always been good. Like this does not go down as a good Igor Shesterkin season at this point, right? That the story is still not fully written yet, but as of now, it's been you know more lows than highs, I would say, for Igor. But in this game, he was really good. Of course, Connor Hellebuck. I mean, he is the front runner for sure to win the Vezina Trophy. So obviously a good goaltending matchup, but um, again, just not nearly enough from the Rangers. There definitely were some high danger chances. It wasn't, but just overall, like Winnipeg was able to take that lead, kind of suffocate the Rangers enough to get the win. I mean, look, Mika Zibanejad at the very end of the game, under a minute to go, with the goalie pull, had a golden chance. I'm not saying it was easy. The puck was on edge. It was kind of in the air, but he had an open net. And the shot was not even close. Kind of symbolic of his season, of the Rangers season. The Rangers, I read, and it makes sense because I don't recall any. They have 0 goals this year when trailing with the goalie pulled, whereas last year they had 9, which was tied for second in the league. It's a night and day difference. That was a clutch hockey team last season. You're not getting any of that this year. Again, they're the only team in the league that has not won a game. I keep on saying it when they've been trailing by 2 goals. Another situation where the Rangers allowed an early goal. Now, granted, it wasn't within the first 2 minutes. It wasn't even technically within the first 5 minutes, but Winnipeg scores 5:18 in. And of course, it's former Ranger Vladimir Mestikov, but I'm jumping ahead just a little bit there. But, um, same problems in a way. As far as the Rangers lineup goes, it was the same defense. Now, there's a little bit of good news. Adam Fox was practicing with the team. It was in a non-contact uniform, so not there yet. But I do think that Fox's timeline, for me, based on that alone, I think that he'll probably be back sooner than I would have thought. I kind of felt as if Fox might miss most of March. This tells me that he may beat that timeline. And boy, do they need him. I would say, especially in the power play, but just in general as well. And it has not really been a vintage Adam Fox season by any means, but even Adam Fox at a lesser percentage than someone at full health. You take Adam Fox over the things that are being thrown out there. And look, Zach Jones is the one that is going to lose that spot. It is what it is. Um, you know, but hey, it's a weird crew right now on defense. And look, all in all, they were all right in this game. I don't really like the Susie Jones pairing. They're a little bit scary at times. But that's not forever. And I don't know. The interesting thing when Fox comes back, I don't really love the idea of Susie and Adam Fox, and I feel like they may try that out first. I kind of feel like you moved away from Lindgren Fox only to go with Susie Fox just doesn't feel right, but we'll see how it goes if and when Fox does return. For forwards, Brett Berard gets the short end of the stick again, and I don't really quite understand it. He drew 2 penalties last game. He hasn't been amazing, but like why? It's telling. He's the one that's getting the healthy scratch. 2 of the last 3 games, and so Arthur Kaliev, not Yuso Parson, it was Kaliev who drew back in. He had been out for a while, and Kaliev did take a big hit towards the end of the game. I don't think he played after that, but I also don't think I don't think it was anything overly serious, and B, Kaliev is kind of one of those guys that's kind of in and out in the lineup. So chances are, coming off of a loss where Kaliev didn't do too much, he'll probably be out of the lineup against Minnesota, and it would be Berard or Parson that comes in. I just think that it's unfortunate for Berard, and given that the other options are not great, to me at least he's showing something, and yet it's consistently been him that's been out. But that's just the way that it's been. And I guess just some thoughts as far as some of the forwards. Like the fourth line, again, it was some pretty good activity from Othman, Brodzinski, and Rempe. But it's like still, like individually, you want to see Othman do something on the score sheet. This was a former first round pick, and it's hard for me right now. Now, granted, like, would you like to see him with with a little more ice time and more of an opportunity? Yes, you do have to earn that as well, but I definitely, given where the Rangers are this season, I definitely want to give looks to Othman and Berard. But am I a little bit skeptical as far as Brennan Othman's future with the Rangers and just in general? Yeah, I am. Definitely. Like, I don't think I've seen enough to feel great about that. And that's tough because he at one point was one of your top prospects. There was a really bad Matt Rempe penalty call that really resulted in the game winning goal for Winnipeg. That's another problem, and we've seen that a lot. Where Rempe, it's a lot of unfair treatment. And look, I've been critical of Matt Rempe as well, as far as him going over the line, because he has. But also, a lot of times he doesn't. And this was a play where they shouldn't have called it, and it sucks that really, you could say, was the difference in this hockey game. But I did think, all in all, the fourth line did provide you good minutes. It's a shame Carrick, has now found himself in this third line center role. He's been exquisite as the fourth line center. And third line center role, that's just not him. That's playing way above what he's capable of. And so that, again, like that was a weird line with Kaliev and, for the most part, Kreider, but you saw a little bit where they were flipping Kreider and Cooley. So keep an eye on that. That scares me a little bit. And look, I'll acknowledge this. Will Cooley's game has been a little bit up and down lately, but I have not seen enough from Kreider to say that he deserves to be in the top six. And so that scares me. That's a possibility. Really, for me, what I'll say before, getting into the specifics of the game is I would, at this point, start mixing it up and spreading the wealth a little bit in the lines. I'm pretty much done with Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere, really. I mean, for all three of them, I'm really disappointed with all of them for different reasons. And look, Panarin, his goal, and lately Panarin has been good, and his goal streak comes to an end. He had scored in 5 straight games, so that streak's over. He did get a point, so the point streak continues. Um, but Vincent Trocheck flies under the radar, and I know he might be playing with an injury. I know that his style of game, like I know, like he brings a lot of key elements. I always want to say that, and I think we're all aware of that, right? And Trocheck is a likable player, a leader type. I get that, but hey, let's call a spade a spade. Trocheck has not been good this year, and I didn't love what he on that first Winnipeg goal. And looking at the replay, didn't really love what I saw there from him. He kind of, we'll talk about that when we discuss the goal by Nemestikov. But yeah, and then Alexis Lafreniere, man, it's just it almost feels like he got that $7 million contract. What was it? 7 year, 7 year extension, close to 7 million, something like that. And at the time, I really thought like that could end up being a fantastic deal. If Lafreniere had continued to do what he was doing at around the time that he got the extension, that could have actually been maybe a bargain's a bit of a stretch, but a really good value contract. And it's just gone the other way. And so it's not only a matter of the physical, it's the mental side with Lex Lafreniere. And it sucks. Because at least if he was doing well, it's like, all right, like you can kind of like sink your teeth into that and say, all right, you have that to look forward to. You can build around Lafreniere. How can you feel that way? You can't. I mean, just horrendous dog shit defense. His speed, his speed was never his calling card, but it's gotten back to being bad again. It's just it's hard to defend. And I don't want it to only be about him, but how can you not have a target? How can you not have a target on his back? And we've gone at length as far as shitting on Zibanejad, and that is still valid. But to be fair as well, and I know, and I said before, look, he shanked that last opportunity, right? He did. But he also did score in this game. Like, he has been playing better. Is the contract a problem? Yes. 5 more years. It's an absolute problem. And Chris Kreider, you got to get rid. I mean, look, you got to get rid of him in the offseason. There's just no way around it. You have to try. I don't know how successful you're going to be at doing that, right? I don't think like that's an issue. But so, there's two sides of the coin, right? There's the Zibanejad Kreider conversation, and there's also the other guys, right? And Panarin only has 1 more year, which is next year, and it's different stories all around. But the top 6, and even tonight, JT Miller, I hated his game tonight. I thought, even and lately in general, I think like the Ranger, ways are permeating to JT Miller. And maybe that's letting him off the hook a little bit, but like as much as the points are good, as much as I love his style of play, as much as, you know, in a vacuum, bringing his style in to the top 6 is really what you need. Despite despite there's things that I am concerned about, right? I mean, he's not getting any younger, but still, I think his game has left a lot to be desired lately as well. So anyway, um, Rangers had some opportunities early in this game, and really, um, a well played game by them. And I mean, Winnipeg has a great home record. Um, this is not a game to shit on the Rangers. It's not. It's just it's a fairly bleak situation overall. Is more of the problem. This game itself is really not all that bad. Early on, Carson Soucy hits the post. And Lafreniere had a chance at the rebound, but the Winnipeg defender was kind of beat him to the punch off of the Soucy post. But at 5:18, Vlad Nemestikov, the former Ranger, and who hadn't scored in a while, I think it was his first goal in 13 games, gets his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Perfetti and Ehlers. And it also reminds me, I think the stats are pretty crazy on Trocheck and Lafreniere. I don't think they've scored a goal in the last over 10 games. One of them is like 13, one of them is 11, something like that, I think I saw, which is obviously a problem. But on the Nemestikov goal, it's a play where Trocheck turns it over in the offensive zone. And again, maybe turnover is the wrong word. He loses possession. And I felt like Trocheck was just too slow to go to the bench. And so Carrick has to race on. And it ends up being a situation where Nemestikov shows, Nemestikov takes the puck drops it off to Ehlers, and Jones and Soucy both back off. And it just leads to a problem where Soucy loses his man. Perfetti goes around Jones to the left side, and Perfetti throws it towards the middle where it goes off of Nemestikov and Carrick and in. And you have Panarin and Lafreniere just watching. I mean, it's just too many times. Those guys in the defensive zone are just total detriments. And if they're not going to produce enough offensively, they become negatives. And that's basically what's been happening for a lot of the season. But yeah, again, Jones, it's hard to defend Jones at a certain point. And you see what he can bring to the game, but unfortunately, his skill set is not good enough to make up for his deficiencies. That's the problem. And I think, look, as long as Adam Fox is out, Zach Jones absolutely should be in the lineup, right? But once he's back, I do understand that he's not going to play. I do. But Carson Soucy, I'm a little bit worried about Carson Soucy. It's early, right? But I don't know. That move remains to be seen. It was nice to have another option there. Calvin DeHaan wasn't playing that badly. Did I feel great about Calvin DeHaan? No, but in the couple games he played, it was okay. That said, he should be more of a reserve defenseman. And when you get Adam Fox back, the lineup should be better. But again, Carson Soucy might be playing with Adam Fox. So there's concern on my part for that, but it's a little bit too early to just jump to conclusions. But yeah, just all around bad. From Trocheck all the way through on this goal, and nothing that Igor could really do about it, as it goes off of Carrick, I think, and in, but it also hit Nemestikov. Makes it 1-0 Winnipeg. Then at 10:05, Nino Niederreiter is called for roughing as he removed the helmet of Keandre Miller. And the Rangers actually do score on the power play. So they get off the schneid. They had been, I think, maybe 0 for the last 12. They hadn't scored in about 5 games. And it was a goal by Mika Zibanejad, his 15th goal of the season, assisted by JT Miller and Panarin. And a nice little passing play. I'm not sure if the JT Miller pass is exactly as intended as Zibanejad, but ends up working out well. There was a nice amount of touch on it, if that was the intention, and a good shot by Zibanejad, glove side, to beat Hellebuck. So that was nice there to tie it up at 1. And then from there would be a penalty on JT Miller at 16:07 where he hooked Nikolai Ehlers. Clear penalty. A very obvious penalty by JT Miller, but the Rangers kill it off, and we go to the second period. And at 3:11, just not a great call. Matt Rempe's called for goalie interference, and he was basically pushed in by a Winnipeg defender. And because it's Matt Rempe, you're going to see that called a lot. And unfortunately, Rangers actually did a nice job on the kill, but with 5 seconds left on that Rempe penalty, it would be a goal by Gabe Vilardi, his 27th goal of the season, assisted by Perfetti and Kyle Connor. And this was a play where Perfetti kind of fans on it briefly, but makes a quick recovery, and Will Borgen goes down, and Perfetti gets it through to Vilardi and kind of just buries it into a fairly open net as Igor kind of committed to one side. So, look, that's a lot of the goals are scored in the league when you think about it. It's kind of half broken plays, half plays that are not really by design. Again, like that Zibanejad goal, like JT Miller, not even totally sure if it was intentional way past it. Same thing here where Vilardi just kind of fans on a shot, but at the very last moment kind of is able to pass it to Vilardi, and it makes it 2-1 Winnipeg. Then at 4:03, you get all right, sorry, chronologically, I was off. This is at 4:03, you get matching minors, Ehlers slashing, JT Miller interference. It didn't change the manpower. It was still 5-on-4, but those penalties did happen within the middle of that. And then at 6:22, Brandon Tanev is called for goalie interference on Igor Shesterkin, but the Rangers don't score with it. So the Rangers end up having this chance, another one later, two power play opportunities to tie it up, and they don't. And then at 9:52, a bad cross-checking penalty on JT Miller. Cross-checks Gabe Velarde. Rangers kill it off, but um, wasn't great. A couple of penalties by JT Miller, but even beyond the penalties, his game in general just seemed off. And I hope that he can kind of find it again. I'm sure he will. Again, he's still putting up points despite this fact, but got to call it out. And then at 18-17, Brennan Othman high sticks Morgan Barron, the former Ranger. So, if you're Othman, you can't afford to be taking penalties like that. The Rangers do kill it off, but in his position, that can get you out of the lineup. I mean, look, if Brett Berard's going to be taken out, then to me, Brennan Othman is going to be subject to that as well. So we go to the third period with Winnipeg up 2-1. And early on, there was, and I should also mention that, Igor was making some pretty key saves along the way to keep this a one-goal game. Like, Vlad Nemestikov had a breakaway chance that Igor stopped. And there was another couple other opportunities. Shesterkin was really on his game in this one. But in the third, within the first 2-3 minutes, Winnipeg looked like they scored a goal. I believe it was Dylan DeMello. However, they called goalie interference on Morgan Barron. And, I thought that maybe the goal was going to stand. I did. I mean, I understand why they overturned it, but I could also see a Winnipeg fan being upset about it as well. But that was a key call because really that could have been 3 on Winnipeg. And we know when the Rangers are down 2, they don't come back. They don't win. They have that won a game, win down by 2 goals. But it stays 2-1. And to make things even better for the Rangers, at 5:46, Dylan DeMello high sticks Alexis Lafreniere. And the Rangers did have some power play chances. Again, a lot of posts were hit. I think maybe about 3. Soucy, Braden Schneider, and I think there was one other post as well. And it escapes me who it was at the moment. Also, I should mention, I think that possibly, maybe in the second period, that they missed, unless it was the puck. I think Johnny Brodzinski might have been high stick, which would have been a 4-minute power play, but never really saw the replay on that. So I can't say for 100% that it was a high stick. Again, it could have been a puck that got him in the face, but they didn't call anything. But anyway, Winnipeg kills off the DeMello high sticking penalty, which again was a big missed opportunity for the Rangers. It felt like the power play, they already scored a power play goal. It felt like that might have been the pathway to tying it up. And as the third period goes along, Winnipeg just did a really nice job of kind of just keeping the Rangers to the outside, blocking shots, and just things weren't getting through. And look, the Rangers, they had some chances. And really the biggest one was 6-on-5 late. Like I said before, where Mika Zibanejad, the puck ends up on his stick after, again, I think it got to him. It wasn't a pass. The puck just found him. It was rolling. It was kind of, it wasn't flat. It wasn't really even on the ice. But it was a big open net. And it goes way wide. And so that was a tough one to take. There was a play earlier where they set up Vincent Trocheck where he takes a shot, but it goes off of DeMello's stick. All in all, Winnipeg hangs on to win 2-1. And so a tough loss for the Rangers, but one that if things were different, if the Rangers were in a different place in the standings, you kind of look at this and say, hey, on the road against the team that has, the most points or tied for the most points in the NHL, and, the best goal differential, an amazing home record, you say, hey, not the result you want, but it is what it is. But the Rangers don't have that luxury right now. They are really, really, really in a tough spot. And things have to turn around quickly. 17 games left. And the next one's at at Minnesota. Rangers actually haven't played Minnesota yet this year, interestingly enough. So it's 2 more games with them. And the Wild are coming off of a pretty big win in a shoot. I think it was ended in a shootout home against Colorado to end Colorado's win streak. So they are, pretty securely in the playoffs. They're going to make it. But for them, it's a matter of kind of moving around. The games are still big for them. It's much bigger for the Rangers. Just as kind of tonight, it was much bigger for the Rangers than Winnipeg. But you're at the point of the season now where teams are still kind of playing as hard as they can, right? Maybe once you start getting to early April, then you may have some of the teams that are sort of clinched or close to clinching, maybe kind of taking their foot off the gas, but you're not really there yet right now. But with Minnesota, as good as their record is, they have a -5 goal differential, and at home, they're only 15-14-1. So what I'm trying to say is, am I confident the Rangers are going to win? No, but there's certainly more confidence in this game than the Winnipeg game. So Rangers have to end this 4-game losing streak. And then it leads into a big Columbus game. Like, I can't tell you enough how important Columbus is more than anyone. And it's not to say that other teams aren't important too. Like right now, as I'm recording this, Montreal is actually tied in points with the Rangers, and Montreal's played one less game, believe it or not. But it's Columbus that to me is the one that is the front runner for that final spot. And it's the one spot that the Rangers maybe have a chance at getting still. And so it's really the Columbus game on Saturday, but leading into that too, the Rangers are in a position where they got to get the win. So not a great start to the trip. Rangers only were able to get one power play goal in a 2-1 loss against Winnipeg. Now 0-2-2 in the last 4 games. 31-28-6, like I said, 2 points out of a playoff spot. And they really, really need to turn this around fast. And so now the second game of the road trip is a meeting on Thursday night against the Minnesota Wild.